So, the Xbox Series X showcase just wrapped up earlier today. Similar to the PlayStation 5 event we saw recently, this was the first, well, technically second, but I think this is more so the first big push for Microsoft to hype up the next generation of Xbox console. With the Xbox One trailing far behind the PS4 this generation, and PlayStation's event for the PS5 being pretty strong, they had a lot of catching up to do. So, did they make good ground today, or was this another Xbox fail? Well, let's talk about it. I want to start by just going over the things I thought were the highlights. Let's start at the beginning with the big marquee game for this event, Halo Infinite. We got the gameplay we were promised, a good chunk on the Halo ring, but something I noticed, I'm sure almost everyone noticed very early, was a map being pulled up with a bunch of red markers on it. It appears that Halo Infinite will be more of an open world type game with various quests for you to go after at your own pace. I think this actually makes a lot of sense for this series, with it already having a big stress on like vehicles and such. The levels are already so vast. Why not make it open world? The gameplay we saw looked good, tight, definitely not like a throwback though, at least from what I saw. Was hoping maybe like health would be back instead of just the recharging shield, but still looks solid nonetheless. With it appearing to be a more open world deal, I feel like it would have been better to show more exploring in this gameplay. Like, we only saw a really small area. They had a nice elevated shot looking out at the world at the very end, but I think it would have been better to really get in there and drive around, maybe fly around in like a Banshee or something, to get a better sense of maybe how big or how packed this world really is. I'd also throw in here, I know a lot of people have been saying they did not find the graphics of this game to be very epic, is that Halo Infinite will be a return to form in the fact that it will allow 4-player split-screen play. When you allow people to play 4-player split-screen on the same console, you're inevitably going to have the visuals suffer. Again, maybe that wasn't the right choice given how popular split-screen is these days, but something I think they should have at least made clear as to a reason why maybe this isn't as good-looking as some would have expected. Still thought it was pretty good, though. Then they got me again with that damn Rare logo. Thought we were going to get another Rare revival for a second, but no. This was another look at that Everwild game that was teased at one of the recent Xbox events. I actually liked what we saw here, though. Didn't really give a good sense of what the gameplay is like for this title. Like, what are we even actually doing in the game? But I love this hyper cel-shaded look it has. And I guess the focus is running around the wild helping animals, and they had some solid creature designs showed off in this. I'll for sure be keeping an eye on this one. Hopefully, we actually see a better chunk of gameplay soon for it. And speaking of some of my favorite Microsoft-acquired studios, Obsidian. This was one of the big acquisitions that happened recently, and we saw looks at the upcoming DLC for their Outer Worlds game, as well as another look at that Grounded title that I think just looks like such trash. I don't know why they put so much emphasis on this one. But they also teased what they called the next big Obsidian RPG that fans have been waiting for. This definitely perked my ears up a bit. It's called Avowed, and from the quick glimpse we got of it, it seems to be very Elder Scrolls-esque. Fantasy setting, we see the player character in a first-person view wielding a sword in one hand and magic in the other. Like I said, we didn't get much on it, but I am extremely interested in this. Obsidian is one of the best RPG companies in the business, in my opinion, and something you have to remember, because I know a lot of people weren't super impressed by the overall quality of Outer Worlds. With it being a spiritual successor to Fallout New Vegas, many said it came off almost too much like Fallout New Vegas because it almost felt like a last-gen game in a lot of ways. And I wouldn't disagree on that, but what I think people need to keep in mind is that Outer Wilds was developed by Obsidian on their own before they were acquired by Microsoft. With this Avowed game, they're going to be making this from the ground up with that financial backing of Microsoft. I think that means there's a good chance this game is going to have a much more big AAA game feel than Outer Worlds did. Psychonauts 2 got a trailer during this thing. I think this had more gameplay than we've seen in other trailers for this title so far. Game looks just as wacky as I'd want it to. There was a bit of platforming that looked solid, but still no date for this one. So yeah, the progress continues to look good, but let's get this one out there already. We also saw another look at The Medium, a horror game from the last event, a better showing of its gameplay twist, which is there's essentially like a normal world and a spooky world. Both are happening at the same time. They're both being rendered in real time, and you swap back and forth between them. This is something we've seen in other games, but we don't usually see in games that are like this detailed. I'm assuming this is going to be more of a puzzle deal. We didn't see anything that really looked like combat, but the overall design I really like, and I think this dual reality gimmick could offer up some interesting gameplay possibilities. One that was more niche and wasn't even actually a new game, but I wanted to touch on it, was the expansion for Phantasy Star Online 2 called New Genesis. It seems that the game is getting a new open-world planet for players to explore, along with some visual upgrades. I still can't believe that of all the gaming companies, Xbox was the one to bring this Japanese MMO to the West, but thank God somebody did. I really like this game. I'm excited for the expansion. I believe the PC version is out now for Western audiences. If you haven't checked this one out, I really think you should. It is a free-to-play MMO, so you don't lose anything by doing so, especially if you're a fan of the anime aesthetic and action combat. It's really a solid game in my opinion. And the show closed out with a tease for a new Fable game. Now, this franchise has been just massacred ever since Fable 2 came out. Fable 2 was the last good Fable game. 1 and 2 were the only good ones. We had, Fable 3, we had a Fable Connect game, with several of the games not even seeing the light of day. But I like the look and vibe we got from this quick tease. Hopefully this is one that actually does end up coming out. But like a lot of the other stuff in this, it was just a cinematic, so it's like I have a hard time really getting excited for games when I don't actually see what the gameplay is like. So overall, I thought this event was just okay. It was definitely better, I think, than the last one, but that's not saying much. There weren't too many things shown off that I was really hyped over. There were some things for sure, but I think probably the key announcement for this event that many aren't really talking about was that all these games, every game shown during the event, will be included with Xbox Game Pass on the day they released. They talked about some other stuff too, like Destiny 2, the game and all of its expansions are coming to Game Pass. This service continues to be beefed up to an incredible value, and this, as well as the PC deal, is still, for some reason, something a lot of people don't like. This is one of those mysteries I just will never get. People complaining like, oh, well, I don't need to get an Xbox if I have a PC then, that's stupid. Why? Why isn't that a good thing? Don't you like saving money? Like not having to buy a console if you already have something else to play the games on? Something that you'd rather play the games on? Game Pass is really the main Xbox platform that I think Microsoft cares about. They got to jump on everyone else with the subscription model, and they are leagues ahead of everyone else with it. And I think it is going to play a big factor in the next gen, as with this subscription, players instantly have access to a stellar library of games that's clearly just going to keep getting beefier. But still, I think Xbox needs to offer up more if they want to win over the general console player. I think the PS5 fired a much more impressive first shot. Too many things in the showcase, like I mentioned, were just cinematic trailers, are just not very exciting, at least not to me. Like the Fable thing, I want to be hyped for a new Fable, but I need to see more than a cinematic. Halo, I think, has the potential to definitely be a great game, but I think they could have showcased a better portion of the game. We do know that Xbox is doing an E3 at home demo deal. They're going to be offering up a ton of demos for games that were planned for E3. Hopefully there will be some good stuff in that. When the Halo Infinite section actually started with a menu saying Start Demo, I thought maybe they were going to announce a demo for Halo Infinite to be part of that. Could still be, but yeah, I definitely think they need to do more. Now, both Microsoft and Sony are not done showing stuff off this year. More is coming from both sides, so I don't think we're at the point yet where people need to decide on which console they're going to buy, especially since we don't have those prices and pre-order info yet. Every time one of these events happens, I assume like, okay, we're definitely going to get price info here, the launch is too close. But nope, every time these companies continue to keep the price info close to their chest. And as we get closer to that holiday release window, without knowing that info, I think that's a big concern for just about every potential customer. Are these prices going to be as high as some feared? Like I said, the longer they go without telling us, the worse I assume it is. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on this big Xbox Series X showcase in the comments. What were the highlights for you, and how are you feeling about purchasing either a PS5 or Series X system at the point we're at now? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the Xbox Series X showcase. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Zakari, and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends, link to both in the description below, and as always, thanks for watching.